Welcome to a special Q&A with Wise Money Israel CEO and founder Evan Liberman. Today, Evan's going to give us a behind-the-scenes look of the Israeli market in recent years, the effects of COVID, the recent Gaza war. Later, we'll talk about how we securely invest our clients' funds, how you can avoid investment mistakes. In our last webinar, we talked about how and why to invest in Israel. We talked about our growing economy, low debt, growing GDP, the importance of diversification of your investments, and the incredible strength of the shekel, and how our stock and bond performance among the best in the world. If you missed it, you should go watch it. It's in the video section of our website, www.wisemoneyisrael.com, or on our YouTube page. This time we want to drill down further and go into more detail about the Israeli market.
Evan, let's look at the details of the market. Let's look at the technicals. How has the market performed in, let's say, the last 3 years?
The last 3 years has been interesting in that we had the first half of those 3 years were very good in the stock market, the bond market here in Israel. The economy was going really well. Then we obviously hit the world crisis of Corona, and like all other economies, we had a hard time in specifically a 1 month period, and then had a recovery after that. But if we take a look at the broad index, let's say that we're good in a challenging period, we see the Tel Aviv 125 stock index, large cap stocks, returned to investors about 28% overall for that time, which is about an 8.5% compounded annual growth rate, which was good for especially having survived the Corona crisis. We did have sectors, of course, that outperformed the overall market. We see the financial sector here in Israel did tremendously with a 39% return. We see the real estate market outperform even that, 85% in the technology space, 87% return for investors over the last 3 years.
So let's look at Corona now. Tell me what the effects were on the market here in Israel, maybe compared to the rest of the world.
So the Corona crisis hit us in late February to late March, as did the rest of the world. Most markets around the world, stock markets specifically, went down around 25 to 30% as well. We did in Tel Aviv around 30% down. We did see certain sectors, of course, underperform by far. We had the financials down 40%. Oil and gas went down 60%, 65%, I believe. We had some sectors which did a little bit better. For example, the technology sector slightly outperformed, but we still saw a major drop during that time. After the end of March, we saw a major recovery go on here. The next month, we made up about a third already of the ground that we had lost, and over the next 8 to 12 months, the market fully recovered. And so after, if we take a look at, let's say, before Corona, and post-Corona, so we have before the year 2020, up until today, we would see that the Tel Aviv market is in fact increased by about 9% overall during that 1.5 year period, which is still doing quite well for a stock market. So we're fully recovered at this point. The financial sectors, the real estate sectors, which we talked about as being down during Corona, ended up that 1.5 year period up 15%. The technology space, as we said, was doing less badly, and it has recovered now to about 27% up over those year and a half.
How about a couple of months ago, we had a war with Gaza, Guardians on the wall, and people were reacting to me like we were about to collapse here, but it didn't last very long. It was a few weeks. Tell us how the Israeli market reacted to that war.
So ultimately, people assume that wars, security situations near Israel affect the market and the stock market specifically, and they really don't. While the human damage and the rockets were being fired and there was a lot of fear among the people, the markets weren't roiled. Basically, we see that about a 2% drop in the first 2 days of the operation. The next 10 days, it was only a 12-day operation in total. We saw a recovery back to plus 2%. So really, it's a blip on the screen. And since the end of the operation, 3 months later approximately, we're at about over 8% up.
So let's look at these last 3 years and tell me, how did Wise Money Israel do compared to the rest of the Israeli market?
So if we look at the last 3 years benchmark of the large cap stocks, we're talking about 28% overall return. The Wise Money Israel stock portfolios actually returned between 55 to 65%. And
wow.
So we're able to make a lot of good decisions and time also when we're going in and out of the market. There was a lot of interesting timing that we could do during the Corona market. When everyone was selling, we were buying into it in certain opportunities, and so we were able to far outperform the market. Not that every client of ours, of course, has all of their funds in stocks. Many have some of their funds in bonds, and bonds obviously are much less volatile during times of crisis. So those were steadier than the stock market. But if you were fully in stock or part of your portion of your portfolio was in stock, you did quite well by investing with us.
Right. So Wise Money Israel did really well during this period. Let's look at the last 12 months. Tell me what the hottest sectors in the Israeli market were.
We had quite a number of sectors which had phenomenal performance in the last 12 months. If we take a look at what our baseline is, we're looking at 12-month performance of the overall market as about 36%, which is great for any 12-month period, of course. In recovery, you expect higher numbers, but the building sector, for example, construction, 112% return. The insurance space, 107%. Chemicals and plastics, also triple digits at 104% return. That oil and gas exploration space, which was really beaten down during the first few months of Corona, rebounded and made 91% for investors. They were just investing, of course, in that sector. We diversify, of course, in our portfolios against these, according to these sectors. Real estate space, 81%. Small and mid-cap stocks, 71%. And the financial space, 61%. So there's a lot of place to be for investors to make money during the recovery, as long as they were able to ride through that initial first month in which their portfolios were down. Investing is for the long term over a diversified portfolio. Investors were able with Wise Money Israel to make quite a good return during the Corona year.
And of course, we go through with each new client what their objectives are to make sure we custom tailor a portfolio to them, so they won't necessarily see every single one of those. They'll see what's best for them.
Exactly.
Going from hot sectors to hot tips, I get this email, call, text, message all the time. Somebody saw an article about this next big company that's coming out of Israel because they've got this new invention, but we don't necessarily see that a lot of these are going to make it. So you've been through this for over 10 years now. Tell us what we need to know about the hot stock tip, how we can see what actually is a good opportunity and how to avoid these traps that sound like a good opportunity but may not be.
Right. So a lot of people are looking for getting involved in the innovation of Israel. It's one of the reasons why they invest in Israel. And it is true that there are more startup companies here in Israel than around the world per capita. And even on absolute terms, we're one of the top 2 or 3 countries in the world with major innovation and startups going on. Having said that, there's a lot of PR going on with small companies that have a limited amount of employees and limited amount of track record with an idea and some research and perhaps the beginning of a product that they're able to deliver to the world. And so their intention is to get the word out in as many telecommunication mechanisms, newsletters, articles, things that are going to show the innovation of Israel. There's a gap between what they have and what becomes investable. About 10 startup companies will start the race, and only one will end with actually an exit or a product that comes to market and becoming a publicly traded company that you can get invested in. And unfortunately, 9 out of 10 startups will fail. We're not looking for that sort of risk for our clients. Usually you have to be an accredited investor with $1 million of net worth anyway to invest in these companies. And so while we're very proud of where Israel is, we're very Zionistic. We want these startups to go public and to be investable by the general public. We're not necessarily looking at all of these opportunities that are investable today. We're looking for profits, not promises. What we're looking for our clients to do is to diversify across many sectors of publicly traded companies. Companies that have proven track records, proven revenue, proven growing bottom lines, even paying dividends in many cases. So we're looking for diversifying across sectors. We're looking for strong companies, and that's how we put together a tailored portfolio for our clients.
So don't buy the excitement, buy the profits.
Exactly. And there's actually a lot of exciting companies that we're investing in that are publicly traded. Some of them are smaller and growing companies, and there's a lot of excitement and innovation that are still to be had through the approximately 600 companies that are traded on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. But even having said that, there are companies which are banks, insurance companies, grocery chains that in Israel are still growing and are still exporting their product to the world, which is a huge market for us, of course. And so we're still seeing exciting growth of companies that don't have to be the cutting edge of technology.
So you touched a little bit on our philosophy at Wise Money Israel. Talk about, we have wonderful retention here at Wise Money Israel. Our clients stay with us for a long time, very happy with the results. Tell us your philosophy, a little more detail, how you're able to grow our clients' money and protect it for such a long period of time.
So at Wise Money Israel, we're looking for, as I said, a safer investment, long-term style of gaining money. With each investor, we sit down, we look at what's their risk tolerance, what's their time frame for investment, what's their need for liquidity, what sectors might they believe are going to do better and are lined up with where we find the sectors to be better as well. And so we come up with a tailored portfolio. Our job at Wise Money Israel is to steward our clients' funds well, they're entrusting us with their money, and so we want to make sure they're making money over time, whether they be in stocks or in bonds, in a way that is diversified to limit their risk over time. We do our individual looking and research and analysis on each individual stock that we believe passes a number of different filters that we have. We go through fundamental analysis for each company that we purchase. We typically have about 20 to 25 companies we're tracking at any given time, and about 13 different fundamental measures that measure things like growth of revenue, that measure price-earning ratios. We're looking at the actual numbers, not necessarily where's the price of the stock been going. That's something that's usually a lagging indicator. We're trying to look forward to what are the companies that are going to do well in the future, buying it at times that are opportunistic when the stock price is lower and it grows into a higher price. We're not looking to trade a lot. We look for companies that we can hold for 6 months, 12 months, 36 months even in cases. And by letting our profits ride, we're able to maximize our clients' return on investment.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we can read the reports in the native language to know what it is that the companies are trying to convey and how they are putting their plans into place to know what kind of company this is.
Right, and there's a lot of companies, of course, that we're meeting on a day-to-day basis being here in Israel. So we understand their product, we understand their marketing, we understand where they're positioned against their competitors. And so beyond being able to read the Hebrew press, the Hebrew quarterly reports, we're able to see the companies locally.
Let's continue to talk about our investment philosophy with some specifics. Let's talk about some of the companies that Wise Money Israel invests our clients' money in. Why do we pick those? Give me an example of one.
One of the companies that we're really excited about investing in is Maytronics. It's a technology company that was founded from an Israeli collective called the Kibbutz 40 years ago. This is a pool cleaning robot that's sold around the world in hundreds of thousands of units that literally automatically cleans the pool, and you don't need to have a pool cleaner, and you can actually control it from your smartphone. This is a product which is a world leader. About 26 million pools around the world need cleaning. They only have about a quarter that are cleaned by robots, and half of them are in fact cleaned by Maytronics products. So we have a small kibbutz, started 40 years ago with just a couple hundred people, and now is one of the largest companies in Israel sold around the world for cleaning technology. It went public in 2014. Its stock performance has been tremendous over the last number of years. We're talking about over 40% in this 2021 year, trailing 12 months, maybe 90-some%. The last 3 years, we've seen almost 300% growth on this company. And so really excited if we go back even 5 years, 600% and more.
So they specialize in these robots. Do they have other products beside that?
They do. They have pool covers. They have automated anti-drowning systems. They have water treatment systems. And ultimately, what we're really excited about in this stock is not necessarily even the gains of the price of the stock that we've enjoyed for our clients, rather the potential. The addressable market of pool cleaning technology is only 1/4 come to bear. And so we're looking at another 20 million pools that need automated cleaning. And we saw, for example, this company doing tremendously during the Corona period when people were wanting to build more pools, spend more time at home in their pool, have their pool clean all the time. They go to sleep, the robot works at night, they come back in the morning, and every morning have a perfectly clean pool without having to invite over a pool cleaner, which besides being less cost effective, also during times, for example, of Corona, were just not possible. And so we see a growth of this company. We see revenue growth, we see profitability growth, we see good management. These are the type of things that we look for in stocks, and we're rewarded with great gains for our clients.
Yeah. So they were definitely a beneficiary of the Corona market. Can you give me another example of a company that Wise Money Israel invests in, and why?
There's another technology company that we're really excited about here called Perion Networks, from the word fruitfulness in Hebrew. This is a company which works in the digital advertising space. They have a platform which helps digital advertisers, publishers, brands such as, let's say, Coca-Cola, to better capture users' attention. They use machine learning, artificial intelligence, to understand what the user is looking for and target advertising to that person's needs and capture their attention for longer periods of time. And this technology has been one of the world leaders. It partners with Microsoft Bing, for example, that added over the last 4 years maybe $800 million in revenue. This company is a long-term player. It's been in the market for over 20 years, been public in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, and is now worth about $500 million. And there's a lot of room for this company to grow as well. The digital advertising space itself is just a hugely growing place of advertising. Obviously, print advertising, newspapers, it's going away, and technology and internet searching and purchasing is happening much more. And so if we look at 2020, we see that the total addressable market of digital ad spending was $340 billion, which is quite a bit. But if you accelerate now 4 years out, we're looking at $500 billion in this space. And being a world leader, they're going to grab that space. They, during COVID, for example, accelerated their digital and social advertising revenues from $26 million we see to $68 million. And that's what we're looking for with companies that we're purchasing for our clients' portfolios. We're looking for strong balance sheets. We're looking for less debt. This company, for example, back 5 years ago was $93 million in debt. Obviously still the company producing revenues, but having a debt overhang. Now it's virtually debt-free. We also see a net cash flow 5 years ago of minus $43 million. We're seeing it in positive territory now. It's plus $61 million in cash flow. So these are some of the things that we're looking for.
That's quite a turnaround.
And these are reflected in the price. When you have a company that is doing well fundamentally, you'll see the technicals of the price reflected. And so we see just in 2021, this company has returned tremendous returns, 65%. On just 2021, the last 12 months about 300%, and if we look at the last 3 years, over 440% return. So we're able to see again outsized performance. Not every sector, not every company that we pick is going to have triple-digit growth over a 2-3 year period, but we've definitely seen a number of these because we're researching. We're not just picking the market averages. In our stock picking, we're being very focused on what are the fundamentals of the company. How do we diversify a number of different companies that are going to all hopefully beat the market over that long pill?
So that's an amazing turnaround. And of course, our clients have succeeded with us in investing in companies that benefited from Corona. So I'm not going to ask you to make a forecast, but I want you to communicate to our viewers why you're so positive on Israel.
I am passionate about investing in Israeli companies. There are a tremendous amount of companies that have innovations that are groundbreaking, helping the world. In some sense, we're a light to the nations. And just the amount of effort that is coming out of Israel to get these new products to the market, I'm excited about seeing our country succeed in that way. And for having other people be able to share and partner with what's going on here. A lot of investors I speak with have a conviction to be part of Israel, to have their money where their heart is, so to speak. And so they're able to, I'm able to connect them with companies that are actually able to make them a profit at the same time that they're investing and supporting the state of Israel. And so it's a win-win situation. One of the important things about investing, of course, is diversification. And I believe Israel is a very good destination, a very safe destination for their capital, but it also helps them diversify in currency, in geography, in what markets they're investing in. And I think it's a wise decision to have some in each market. And not having all your eggs in one basket is obviously a wise thing to do when you're investing in global times such as we are. Additionally, I'm very excited about the fact that our shekel currency is one of the strongest currencies over the last 2 decades against a basket of world currencies. Specifically, for example, if we look at the US dollar versus the shekel has been 50% stronger over the last 2 decades. What that means is if you had invested $100,000 and never put it into actual companies, just put it in the currency, you would have $150,000 worth of shekels at this point. And so there's a lot of great reasons to invest in Israel. We're passionate about what we do here. We take very seriously the calling and the trust that clients have put in us to diversify their funds into companies that are Israeli companies sold here on the shekel, whether they be stocks or bonds. And we've had a lot of good success in connecting people to the market here.
Evan, thank you very much. I think it's been a very insightful conversation.
If you found this discussion helpful and you'd like to diversify your portfolio for long-term growth, please visit our website at wisemoneyisrael.com and either have a live chat with us or make an appointment to speak with us. We'd be happy to spend time answering all your questions and find out what opportunities there are for you. Thank you for watching. We look forward to sharing the incredible potential of the Israeli market with you.